Hey everyone, how are we all doing? Okay, so before we get started, everything I say in this video is my opinion, mine alone. Please feel free to do your own research, come to your own conclusions. With that being said, let's do this. Okay, so you're probably aware every video starts with a click. I click on a video or a tweet, and then if I got something to say, I talk about it. And today is no different. So this started with None of the Tea channel. She'd done a video talking about critical K. Now, I'm not going to put critical K on this channel. I really don't want to give it the time, to be honest with you. But what was said did interest me, and it did spark a big interest for me. 1 second. So, critical K was actually banned. Now, I'm not sure exactly when or why, but she had a lot to say about Shanann Watts, the wife of Chris Watts, and her unborn baby and her 2 daughters, who are sadly no longer with us. Now, Critical K is trying to act like she's done a massive U-turn. But before we get to what she's actually doing, let's just talk about what was being spoken on None of the Tea's channel. She talks about the Me Too movement and how she feels like because of the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial, it's been pushed back 10 places. I'm going to disagree with that. Now here's why. When I started watching the Johnny Depp trial, I kind of knew who he was. Some of the films that I've seen him in, he's brilliant. But he's an actor, and I don't really aspire to actors. Or anyone sort of famous for that matter. I think it's giving yourself false inhibitions. And they're not really people I look up to. So, as I was saying, when I started watching the trial, I didn't know very much about him, and even less about Amber Heard. Now, I didn't go into watching that with she's guilty, he's innocent, she's guilty. But over time I made my judgment, as we all have. And what I saw put me in the mind that I am today, that he was a victim. I'm not saying that he did nothing to her, but there was nothing there to accuse him over her. And if anything, I think the Me Too movement was then expanded to males, saying that males can be victims too. And I believe that. I fully believe that. Men can be victims as much as women can be victims. And men can be aggressors just as much as women can. Now, a lot less men end up no longer with us than women do. Because in general, men are naturally stronger than women. And that's just the way things are. There are women out there who are incredibly strong. But men are built differently. They're built to be stronger in certain ways. So I do not believe that the Me Too movement was set back. It's just the way I see it. So they go on to say that Now on the T channel, it goes on to say that Kay defended Kelly Long, and she did. She called Michael Long a liar. She called Sophie a brat, along with Katie Joy. And I'm not going to say that I believed Kelly, because I didn't. I didn't listen to Michael. I listened to a 9-year-old girl. I saw a 9-year-old child screaming for help. And if the same thing happened again tomorrow, until there was evidence enough to say that it weren't true, I would still believe that 9-year-old child. But that's just me. So, I wasn't going to watch Kay's video because I really don't want to give her the views. But I did. And I can only see one reason for Kay saying the things that she said. And that's to get her numbers back. In my opinion. She says how she now believes Shanann. She no longer thinks that she's a bitch. And she no longer believes her for the death of her children. She goes on to say how she allowed the comments, that she listened to the comments. But she doesn't talk about how she pushed the comments, does she? How she was a front runner for everything said about Shanann in her Facebook group. She blames Chris Watts' family for feeding her lies. Now, any critical-minded person, as Kay likes to say that she was, or is, I don't know, would see that Chris's family are going to defend him. They're not going to want their son to be guilty. They were going to push everything they could in his favour. It's called being a mother. It's called being a parent. Chris Watts took the life of his wife, his unborn son, and his 2 daughters. She goes on to compare Amber Heard, Kelly Long to Shanann Watts. And I'm sorry, but you cannot compare either of those women to Shanann Watts. Kay says that last summer she spoke to someone who works in a mortuary. She'd reached out to several, but only this person had got back to her. Now, if I am right, now I can't go back and look because she's been banned and everything's gone. But if I'm right, last summer, Critical K was calling Shanann Watts every name under the sun, blaming her for those children. But when she spoke to this person who worked in a mortuary, they pointed out something on the death certificate. That one of the girls was found with oil and sludge in her lungs, inside her. Now I'm going to be honest, I am really fighting back the tears right now. Because I'm thinking that little girl was alive when he put her in there. She was alive. When he dropped her into that tanker, she took a big gulp. And that broke me. One moment. Sorry about that, I had to pull myself together. You cannot compare Amber Heard or Kelly Long to Shanann and those girls. I'm sorry, but you can't. That is sick. The fact that she knew back then that that little girl was alive when she was putting that tanker on her own, without her mum, without her sister, and left there to die alone. Kay also talks about an old friend of hers. She says she didn't have many friends growing up and over the years. She talks about a friend who left her husband, took her children, and married another man, and that she would hate her for that. She would tell her she destroyed her family, and that they would have to travel back and forth for her new husband to pick up his children to spend time with them, and how they got into a car accident. And after she lost her life, and other people in that vehicle, including children, lost their lives, she still blamed her because she left her husband and she destroyed that family. Now Kay is coming back saying she's a better person because she no longer believes that Shanann was a bitch. She no longer blames her for the children's sad passing. She ain't changed one bit. How long ago was it that she was on TikTok talking about Gabby Petito, blaming Gabby because she was, you can see it for yourself. She ain't no better. She just wants the numbers back. Because as Not Another Tea channel informed us, before Critical K got banned, she quit her job. And she was about to go full-time doing YouTube. She was going to make YouTube her full-time job. Critical K has just over 2,000 odd subscribers right now. She had a hell of a lot more back then. She wants her numbers back. So she's playing the more sentimental, emotional part. Talking about finding out about the baby. How Chris Watts' family manipulated her into believing that he was innocent. Critical K is not a nice person by any means whatsoever. Never has been, never will be. She talks about how if people tried saying that Shanann was innocent, she would shut them down and block them. She'd call people peasants and blow on a little toy kaboo. She's acting all sentimental and getting really emotional. for one reason and one reason only: to bring her numbers up. She doesn't feel nothing for Shanann Watts or Gabby Petito. Kelly Long was just going against the odds. When everyone was supporting Michael Long, Kay had to go the other way. She headed the attacks against Shanann's family. She was the mastermind behind it. There was people following her because she was thinking critically. Amber Heard is an abuser. There's no way about that. Whatever went on with her and Johnny, we'll never know the truth. He may be just as bad as her, but the evidence didn't show that in court. And we all watched the court for 6 weeks. Kelly Long, turns out she was innocent. But I wasn't listening to that, I was listening to a little girl. None of the T channel agrees that we go against women. We want to pick them apart. Well, I for one don't think like that. When I see a situation, I try to look at every side. Before I make a decision, I look at the information in front of me. I didn't know about the Chris Watts for a long time. He was already locked up by the time I knew anything about it. And from his behaviour, he looked guilty from day one. From the video cams, from the body cams, he looked guilty. He didn't want to divorce Shanann, so he killed her instead. His girlfriend didn't want his children. They were in the way. And poor little girls. But I would not put Critical K on my channel, because I've seen who she is. And I still see who she is. She can say she's changed till she's blue in the face. But until I see actual evidence of it, I won't believe it. You don't blame a murder victim. And she knew that little girl went into that tanker alive while she was supporting Chris Watts. Them little angels. I'm going to leave that there because I'm going to get extremely emotional. And I just can't right now. I already feel like I'm about to burst out crying when I get finished this video. But Critical K doesn't do critical thinking. She controlled people who tried to go against her. She blocked them. Ignored them. Their opinions didn't matter. There's nothing critical about that. So, what do you think about that? Leave a comment. Hit that like button. hit subscribe, and I shall see you in the next video, which I'm going to finish now before I go to bed, and probably be up in a day or two. So have a great night, and I shall see you on the next video. Bye.